Hola, hola. It's your girl Erica from America. Welcome to the Confidence Chronicles podcast. This podcast is all about helping you stand in who you are. Stop giving a fuck what people think about you. Start standing as your fully expressed self. As you are, as is, there is no filter needed. You are fucking awesome, and I am here to remind you. I'm a confidence coach, and I'm a bold stand for confidence, and I cannot wait to dig into today's episode with you. Hello, my love. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I have a very special guest for you. I'm very excited to introduce you to Madhavi Shankar. She's amazing. She's a CEO and founder of Space Basic. It's a networking app that she created. She's originally from India, and she is not only an incredible businesswoman, but she's been named one of the top 60 women transforming India by the government of India, as well as the United Nations. I found her searching through a TED Talks that I was watching, and I listened to her TED Talk around gender bias and, women empowerment in India, which I'm really, obviously, y'all know I love women's empowerment. I got an opportunity to connect with her on LinkedIn and just listen to her story about how she had a really beautiful upbringing and her parents were able to really, it just really shows you when your parents support you and you are uplifted and empowered, what that can do to a young woman, what that does to a child who then becomes a woman who believes in herself. And when I was chatting with Madhavi, one of the things that really stood out for me was her lack of self-doubt. She really did not doubt herself. She didn't think she couldn't do it. She didn't think about male-dominated industry, female-dominated. She just really went for it. She had a beautiful mentor who she shared about with me that supported her, and she learned about what sisterhood was. And so this episode is a special episode for those of you out there who maybe come from a culture or a background where your gender predetermines what you can and can't do. And hopefully it inspires you. If you've got tough parents out there, or you're from a community where usually women don't go against the grain and move away from home until they're married and have children, that you can actually go out there and make change in the world and fulfill your dreams. So very excited for you to listen to today's episode. Without further ado, here is Madhavi. So tell me about you. Where did all of this begin? I know we're going to get into Space Basic, your app, and how you got onto this platform and became the CEO of this. But where did you grow up? How was your upbringing? What brought you here? All the questions.
So yes, I've been brought up in a typical Indian household. My parents are doctors. I have a younger sister, and our childhood was pretty normal, to be honest. We've grown up with the whole cultural and family balance sort of environment. And, in India, it's pretty hard on to education is given a lot of importance. Yeah. And my parents being doctors really had, a kind of benchmark set up for us, in terms of education. My sister was very good with her studies. I was probably the difficult one for my parents, and it was a pretty normal childhood. And I think as kids, something I realized now much older, much later on, is that most of our thinking is kind of experiences from childhood all the way up to today. And, even it's when I remember, when I was in school, there were a lot of people who were doing really well with grades and things like that. And I was never good with grades. And it kind of made me feel a little more, insecure and incapable of going out and chasing the world, really. I think that aspect was really seeded in because of pre-notions that we have. It's just like prescribed a textbook way of success. It's kind of defined for you to walk in that path. And I think that was kind of seeded on much earlier in life. So that was pretty much growing up was pretty normal, mostly school, mostly family driven.
Yeah. So wow, your parents, they were really into education, obviously, because they were doctors. What do you think drives that want to pass it down to their children, that their children must be educated, must have, like, what do you think that is, the drive for that?
Indians are big on stability. They want to kind of pass that on. And for them, I think they think that education gives you a stable job.
Yeah.
A stable job brings you stable income. A stable income allows you to have a materialistic stability, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
a roof, food, food on the table and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think it's mostly to do with stability. But I feel like, that has changed now.
Yeah.
And that's what's incredible, because now I realize there's no prescribed definition to success. There's no prescribed definition to stability, So I learned this now.
Yeah.
But for most of for my childhood and my, teens and a young adult, I was mostly taught that education and having stability is the most important thing.
Yeah. So how did you go so you were in India, in Bangalore?
Correct.
And most of your life. And then how did you go moving out or being where you are, because you created this business, and how did that all kind of come about?
Right. So I think, after my schooling, I enrolled into undergrad. I did my engineering in India as well. And again, so just a little bit of a pretext here that, the most sought after career paths here are either being a doctor or being an engineer, mostly back in the day when I was studying, at least. And, to be doctor, you need to be exceptionally good with your grades, which I was not. So my next immediate option was engineering. And I did take that up, and I went to school here. I did my engineering. And after that, I wanted to move overseas. I didn't, the kind of, over here, students usually go to work after engineering, not while studying, because parents usually take care of you while you're here. We still live with them,
Yeah.
when we're in school. So the whole goal was for me to kind of get a little bit of independence and kind of go and explore the world. And I really wanted to do that post engineering. So straight after engineering, I moved to Australia in a couple of months, and I enrolled at the University of Technology, Sydney, to do my engineering, and I did an MBA after that. So I think that's where my, exploring my capabilities and really exploring who am I, kind of took light, because you're not in anybody's shadow. You are independently making decisions every day, big and small. So I think, just making that move to Australia really changed my life and really changed my perspective about life in general.
And Sydney, I can imagine going to school there and getting your MBA there would have given you a whole nother, how was it different, like from India? Would it another perspective, or the culture, everything would have been different, huh?
Right. So I think I really enjoyed what I studied in Sydney. At UTS, it was more inclined to my interest. I kind of realized that I liked interactive subjects. For example, engineering is very, textbook based. I like more of an interacting kind of environment. And I think that's what, masters gave me. And I really liked the electives I chose, and it kind of made sense to me because I could apply it practically day to day. So, once I landed here, I was trying to look for jobs, and I was extremely sure that if I am going to do a job, it has to be something that I could put on my resume, in addition to, supporting my life here and my, just being here and making sure that I can support myself. In addition to that, I really wanted something that I could put on my resume. If I'm going to spend half a day doing something, it might as well be something I'm learning out of.
Yeah.
So, after looking for, just looking on Gumtree and all these other, portals, and I finally found a posting that was for an intern. So I went ahead and I joined a company they said, okay, why don't you come down for an interview? And I did. I went and met with the CEO. They were a very early stage startup. And there were about 3 people, the co-founders. And I think I was the second employee to join the company.
Wow.
So I joined as an intern, really, and I did everything from sales to intern to front desk receptionist, and I loved it. And that's where my love for startups really began. And just the fact that starting as an intern, I stuck around till I, kind of moved back to India in the same company. I did not find any other job. So I was there for about 4.5 years. And, but in about 2.5 years, I was product manager of the Asia Pacific region, taking care of projects there. So I loved the journey there. And I knew then I had to do something on my own.
There's so much in this story too about how you really did believe in yourself and you had the confidence to go for it. I mean, you had the confidence to leave where you were, to go to a different culture, to come to Australia, to study here, and then to go on Gumtree. Y'all, like back in the day, Gumtree, I remember Gumtree. For young people might be like, what's Gumtree? But that was, so, what do you think stops so many people, so many women especially, from doing things and chasing their dreams and going for it? Like, because you seem to have a lot of confidence in ability to do this for yourself.
I think, the confidence that I have today is self-taught because of unlearning a lot of preconceived notions. Yeah. And, we are taught to be a certain way. We're taught that, hey, okay, you work, you study, you work, you have a job, you get married, you have kids. I'm like, not anymore, you don't.
Yeah.
You do what you want to do. You do what, makes you happy and what drives you. I don't think it's anybody's responsibility to take care of. That comes out of love. So these are the fundamentals that I think most here, at least in Asian cultures, that's the prescribed path for a woman. And I think to question that and to kind of do what you want to do, you have to be confident. You have to kind of grow that within you. And I mean, I still am, constantly kind of debating a lot of things in my head. But I think the first step for me to do that was definitely to unlearn a lot of preconceived notions and really ask why. Yes. Why is this?
That is a great question. Yeah, because most of the time you'd be living someone else's beliefs or, you're under someone else's upbringing or their thoughts or a society or culture or, you're a woman, so you should be doing this or you shouldn't speak or you should, there's so much. So I think it's really awesome that you were able to deprogram, as we say, right? Like deprogram whatever it is. So you're working in this company. Was it more, would you say like this? Because I have a few clients who are engineers as well, and they're from third world countries that, it was not going to happen for them. And they've fought really hard to become amazing female engineers. Would you say that it was difficult? Like, was it male dominated? Did you have any feelings with that? Like, how did you work with that?
So with the company I worked for in Australia, I think I was the only female in the company. Wow. And it was all right. It was never a thought that crossed my head, really.
Awesome.
It was, even today, even here, being here, I'm only reminded of my gender when there is a very specific situation or a scenario that comes in. Yeah. Apart from that, I don't believe to kind of box myself in a gender, because then you have expectations and you have roles to play. And I don't necessarily find that to be, that doesn't work for me.
Girl, you a bad bitch. I love it. She's like, I don't want to do that. I think it's really good because we get stuck. You hear so many women go male dominated industry, and it's like, it just shows us what we're looking for. Like for you, it sounds like you're not even looking to see that. So clearly you're not attracting that and you're not seeing that in your life. You're creating the life that you want to have. And it's so important and incredible because so many women, especially corporate women or business owners, could really take a leaf from your book because it's a choice. It sounds like you made a choice.
Right. And, with what I've grown up with and what I've been told, I think women have, for us to be here today, there are a lot of women who have kind of fought this path and allowed us to, enjoy what we enjoy today. And we kind of are marching down that path as well for future generations. Yeah. So like, my mom was probably 5 out of 10, probably 5 or 6 out of the 10 women that actually, studied medicine back in the day. And
Wow.
my co-founder, it was two. I think there were two engineering students when she studied here in India before she moved overseas. So, you hear stories like that, and you kind of automatically say, well, we have a choice, as you said. Either
Yeah.
you take control or you give control. So I like to take control here. So
Yes, girl. I love it. I love it. Okay, so you're here, you're in this business and you're like, I want to do this. Like I want to do my own thing. Talk to us about that because that is awesome.
right. So I know, I worked in Australia for about 4.5 years. And I was like, I knew by the end of that I wanted to do something on my own. And I decided to, at that time, I think it was like 2016, I was introduced to a successful woman entrepreneur in the Silicon Valley. And I was making a trip to the US anyway, from Sydney. And I thought, hey, I should absolutely write to her and
Mm.
ask her about her journey. And maybe she has some advice for me.
Oh.
And so I did, wrote to her. She said, yeah, why don't you come down? Let's meet for coffee. So I was there and I met with her in Palo Alto and just started talking to her about, she's of Indian origin. She moved, 25 years ago to California. She
Oh.
built her company. She ran it for 10 years, had a successful exit. And, in my eyes, that's like, oh my God, you're a star. Tell me
Yeah,
more,
yeah.
So I just wanted to kind of like, have her advise me really and kind of talk to her about what I'm thinking in terms of my ideas of what to start, how to do it, so on and so forth. I knew I wanted to do something on my own, but I didn't quite, I couldn't put my, couldn't put my finger on it. Like I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
So we met, we spoke for about 2 hours that day. We met every single day after that, a couple of times, 5, 6 times. And then we had a brief business plan good to go. And she was like, do you want to do this with me? I can totally do this with you. I'm like, oh my God, yes.
Wow.
And
Wow.
that was it. That was my cue to, that's all I needed. And I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take the leap of faith. And I just packed my move. I came back to Sydney. I told the guys that I have to move on and I have to work in Australia. I mean, I have to go back to India and I want to start something on my own. By the way, I just want a big shout out to the guys I worked with back in Sydney.
Yeah.
In my co-founders of my previous company, they were so helpful. They really molded like my thinking and,
Wow.
with terms in terms of like business and things like that. So they were
Shout out.
yeah, they were super helpful with that. And I just left. I quit my job and I moved back to India
Oh,
to
wow.
roll up my sleeves and figure this thing out. So I was here back in 2016 trying to do some due diligence
Yeah.
and understand what is it that I'll be doing? What problem will I be solving? Will people
Hmm.
pay money for the problem I'll be
Love
solving?
that
And so on and so
question.
forth.
That is the best. That's the first question you need to ask yourself, business people. It's very important. So, why not Silicon Valley? Why did you go back to India? Why was that choice?
So the choice was, for me, really, it was between staying back in Australia or going back to India. And it
Mm,
made more business sense to go back to India because it's an emerging market. There are more people there.
yeah.
The cell phone penetration had drastically increased at that period, and there was an opportunity there. And given the ecosystem, India has a beautiful startup ecosystem,
Oh,
and
wow. Amazing.
there's so many young people with ideas building stuff every day. And this is where I wanted to be, and it just
Yeah.
made more business sense to start
Yeah.
something here.
Awesome. I love that. How did you, well, obviously you're going to get to like what this is, but I'd love to know, maybe you can explain what it is and how you in particular or you and your partner thought about the idea of what this need is and how you can fill it.
Sure. So um, I did know I wanted to do something in the student space. Being in Sydney and having this, being accustomed to student housing that is
Mm.
secure, that is structured, and of course that is like fun. Um, to kind of witness that and kind of also be aware of how student housing is different in India. You kind of like automatically draw a comparison, just even student life day to
Yeah.
day. And my co-founder, she had, her father runs non-for-profit dormitory for underprivileged kids here in India. So we, decided, hey, why don't we go ahead and like try to see if this is the space we want to be in. And soon enough, when I went back to do some due diligence, spoke to a lot of universities, spoke to a lot of student housing companies, students, parents, etc. And there was a clear gap in terms of technology usage in housing, in student housing in general. So we decided to launch, Space Basic. And the purpose of Space Basic is to kind of, be an interactive, fun networking platform where day-to-day communication and day-to-day tasks that happen within student housing communities are kind of digital and easily accessible to everybody.
Wow, that's incredible. And how long have you been doing this over there in Space Basic in India? We acquired our first customer, I think, in August of 2017. Wow.
So it's been about 2.5 years, I'd say.
Incredible. And I saw that you were on Forbes. You got a lot of publicity for this. So talk us through that. How did you launched it, and how did all of that go for you? Because clearly it's going really well and you guys are growing, obviously, numbers and usage.
Right. So, yeah. So we launched in 2017, and the goal was, the publicity came as a byproduct, you could say, of it. I've always been told that you just have to put your head down and do the work.
Yes, girl.
And everything else is just a byproduct. It could go away in a second. You don't know.
Yeah. Well, look at COVID. I mean, it's changed everything. So, yeah. Yeah.
So you've got to have your eyes on the prize. And, that's what I try to focus on most of the time. Just solve a real problem, make sure we go out there and aggressively kind of, have user adoption. And, at the end of the day, it should serve a purpose for our users as well as, for us. And that's the goal. It's to make sure that, we are able to scale, we're able to acquire new customers, we're able to drive numbers, and, just have a sustainable business. And publicity definitely is a byproduct that comes off.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for it, though. Really am.
How does it feel for you to be like one of because how old are you, if you don't mind us asking?
I just turned 30, so I'm so glad I made it to Forbes 30 under 30.
I know. I'm like, you're a baby, you're 30. That's fantastic. You've done so much in such a young years, but obviously you're 30 age-wise, but you sound like an old, very wisdomful soul. So how did it feel for you to do the Forbes and to do a TED Talk? How did all of that go, and how were you in that space?
It was a really, dream come true moment, because we always watch it on YouTube. At least when I started Space Basic, to kind of acquire motivation, to be on that stage was really a dream come true moment. When I got there, it was definitely a checklist off my bucket, of the things I wanted to achieve.
So that happened, and then what was the next bit after that? Did things did you see your business grow, or your profile as a CEO grow through that?
Yeah, I mean, sure. My TED Talk definitely gave me some exposure. Awesome. And I think the next major milestone in terms of, achievements, one can say, is so Government of India and the United Nations has an initiative for women. It's called Women Transforming India, and it's a platform where women kind of participate. And this year I was on the top 30 Women Transforming India.
Good.
And just to be a part of, that ecosystem and really meet with these women who are literally transforming India was amazing. It really reminded me of why I started this in the first place, and, and what keeps me going. It was such a great experience.
Wow, that's incredible. So you've made some friends, some connections, getting people involved in, obviously, in what you're doing for India. I think it's freaking huge. What would you say to someone who's out there maybe listening and maybe they feel held back by their family wanting them to do school and do well in school and achieve for, more for the family, and they maybe want to reach out and do their own thing? What advice would you give a woman that's listening in that scenario?
I would say, at least what's worked for me is, I guess it's okay to be confused. I guess it's okay to, make your loved ones happy, but I wouldn't say at the cost of yourself, at the cost of your dreams, and they would understand. They will eventually come around.
Yeah.
And, to be honest, they say it from a place of love. They say it from a place of being protective, but really you don't try until you don't know, and you just cannot not try. Yeah. So, I always ask myself, what is the worst that can happen? What is the worst that can happen? And if the answer is not that bad, I'd be like, I'm going to do it.
Oh my God, I love you. I love you. I literally give my women this exercise, like, write it down. What's the worst that can happen? It's like, did you die? No. Well, like, it's okay. Like, keep going. Because I think we think of the worst case scenario, it's
right.
It stops us. Have you ever felt like in this whole journey or now, even with COVID and what's going on, do you ever like fear that something won't work? And if you do, what do you do to kind of get yourself out of the funky, fearful mentality?
I think in general, what has really helped me and given me a little bit of an edge or that leap with my journey as a startup founder is to be able to work with other women and other successful women. And I think that I am here today because of my co-founder who supported me and who kind of guided me through this path that she's already walked through. So I did not really understand the power of women supporting women until I encountered this myself. And ever since, I always tell people in general to go find a mentor who's been there, done that, and who kind of understands. It's not random advice; it's advice that will help you. Most definitely than not. So I think it's important that find a mentor. And what's the worst that could happen, really?
Yeah.
And if you give it a miss, can you live with yourself? Or is it going to be something that you're always going to worry about? Woulda, coulda, shoulda, So if you're able to eliminate all these questions and come to a decision, I think you'll be in a good place to know whether to consider it or not. Yeah. But, these things I've really learned from my co-founder, who's really been helpful, because I think in general, women culturally across the world really are in a lot of self-doubt. Can I do it? Will I be able to? Yeah. To be honest, I did not even apply to Forbes 30 under 30 Asia because I thought I'm not going to stand a chance because there's so many successful people who are doing life-changing things out there. And I had a couple of friends actually nominate me, and I got it. Aww. So you don't know. You just don't know. You have to give it a shot. And that was a reminder for me to say, hey, you can't let go of an opportunity. You have to give it a shot.
Ugh, that is like the biggest tweetable takeaway of this whole thing. Honestly, I really believe in that. And I think it's incredible that you were able to just even the fact that you met a mentor, but you reached out and you were like, hey, can we have a coffee or can I ask you some questions? What do you feel like is the best way if somebody does have a mentor that is, semi-accessible, that they're someone that they can access, not Oprah, obviously, because she's not really accessible. But let's say, it's a mentor that's accessible. What would be a tip or advice that you could give them on how they could reach out?
I reach out to most people via LinkedIn to connect with my professional network. What a great tool. I'm more on LinkedIn than I am on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter combined, because that's going to take you places. That's going to build the connections you really need to excel in your career. And having said that, we need to remember that these people have 100 people writing to them every day. Why should they consider you, right? And it's perseverance, and it's about how badly do you really want it in the first place. Reaching out is not just, hey, can you help me? Why should they help you? You need to build your case, and you need to you need to be consistent and you need to persevere that through. If not, I mean, why would anybody spend their time and energy, helping somebody if, you don't know what kind of help you need in the first place?
Yes.
They're not our parents, they're not our siblings. So we need to keep that. We need to make sure that how badly do you want it? And to kind of really chase after it answers the question to who you could reach out to. And also, I think people today are very, very accessible. There's so many different ways to reach out to people. As you said, maybe you're not going to get a response to Oprah, but who knows? You write to her every single day, you actually might get a response.
Yeah, that's true. If you're a stalker, no. Yeah, you keep going. I love it. I think it's so important as well that you say like provide value as well, because so many people want to like pick your brain, but it's like, well, I'm a little bit busy trying to build a, international company over here in India. And, it would be useful, I think, too, like people come at you with some kind of value as well, if they can provide some value back and forth to you that you can meet and collaborate with. And it really sounds like your co-founder who you're working with really saw herself in you and just saw how much you were doing and how badly you wanted to do this. I mean, you were flying to America, so it just made such good sense to reach out to her. So I think it's incredible. It sounds like you don't really let fear stop you. Yeah, why not? And tell me about your thoughts on failure. Like, what do you think about failure?
I think, in general, we are risk averse and we are very failure. We are risk averse because we're scared that we might fail. And that's the reason why we're risk averse. And I think millennials these days are generally not. I see that actually kind of, with my interactions. But I believe that, it has a more of a mindset that's passed on from generation to generation in terms of being, as I gave you an example, right? Being in India, people mostly seek stability, at least, the previous generations. And that's what's kind of, fueled to the upcoming generations as well.
Yeah.
You want stability so that you're not going to, you're not going to take risks. You're going to do the same drill over and over again. So I believe that, risks are important and failure is a part. You only need to succeed one time. So it's okay to fail. For me, it was like, shit, I can't fail. I have to do this well and I have to do it right. And my co-founder would say, fail fast. So you can learn quickly and move on. The chances are that you're going to fail more than the chance of you succeeding. So might as well embrace it. Yeah. There's so much to learn out of it.
And I love it too, because it sounds like, so many people have regrets, on their deathbed. It's like, I didn't get to do this thing. So, your advice on, are you going to regret this if you don't do this? Then go do it. Like, hurry up and do it. Stop waiting, because everything changes so quickly.
And change is a good thing, I don't see why change is a bad thing. Change is amazing. And we're changing every day. We're changing our paths every day. I mean, change is good. We need to start embracing that. It's not bad at all. Yeah. It's kind of very treated as a bad thing. Comfort zones are bad, by the way. You need to, change is great. Change is a good thing.
It's incredible what you've done. And I really honor you for standing in the light and not being scared of taking your spotlight and taking the platform. Because so many women, we worry that if we stand in the platform and we stand in the spotlight, we're taking away from another, and we're not. Your co-founder was able to be so bright that you could see her and you could connect with her. And now you just speaking now, I can tell you've inspired probably so many women and men, to go off and do something like this, no matter where they're from, no matter, their resources. Like, you've been resourceful. And so I really honor you and thank you, because it is so inspiring and incredible. Tell us where we can find you, how we can stalk you. Where can we get all the juicy goodness from you?
Thank you, Eric. I mean, that was really kind. And, I'm so glad we had this conversation. And, I love what you're doing. It's great. It's great to kind of, women need to support women. We're all we have. And we understand the struggles we go through. So, the days of women putting each other down are long behind. And we need to be able to stand up for each other together, and I love the fact that, that is the whole crux of your show, and I love that. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for considering me to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy. I know I was like one of those LinkedIn reach out people. I'm like, oh, I just love it. I love what you're doing, and I think it's important that people hear the stories of different women that grew up in different places with different backgrounds. And I just think I know for sure that this podcast will have helped so many to really just go for it. I mean, what you've created is incredible, and obviously it's ongoing. You're still doing things, and just your attitude towards life is really great. And we share a lot of similarities with that, and so I'm really happy that you could be here. So thank you. Where do you hang out? So you're on LinkedIn mainly?
Yes, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook and Twitter.
Cool.
And yes, I'm happy to, talk to people, I'm accessible, love to hear from women. I'm happy to do whatever I can to help and, pitch into the community.
You're incredible. You are amazing. Thank you so, so much. Everybody listening, please reach out. We'll put all her links for her website, all her details in the show notes. If you can take anything out of this, it's that you can do whatever you believe you can do and that you should not give up on yourself. So thank you, Madhavi. We so appreciate it.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you for having me. Pleasure being here.
My darling, we are in wild times right now. And in order for you to manage your mind and boost your immunity and be level-headed instead of panic, I want to invite you to consider online training, to consider joining a community, a sistership where you are going to be held, where you're going to be supported, where you have a safe space to unravel, and with all this time at home, you can actually better your life and work on yourself. Good news as well, I have now done a 12-month payment plan for the online sisterhood. So many women right now are experiencing trouble with their finances, losing their jobs, being single mothers, not knowing when their next money or paycheck is going to come from. And we are navigating that with our current sisterhood members. We are working with every woman that we can in order to support them in these tough times. And I hear you out there saying, I'd love to join the sisterhood, but I can't afford it. I can't afford 6 payments. So what I've done is made it a year-long program. It's a year-long program with a year-long payment plan. I really, really want you to consider if this is the time for you to join the sisterhood and work on yourself. It is available to you now. Let's do the damn thing. Thank you so much for listening. I so appreciate your ears, your time, your energy, and your attention. Please do me a favor and head over to Apple iTunes, subscribe so that you don't miss an episode, share this episode with a sister who you know needs to hear it, and if you feel called to, leave me a review. I'd love to know what you think about the podcast. I'd love to know how this information is helping you change your world. Thank you so much for being here. I know that there are many podcasts you could listen to, and I really appreciate you listening to mine. Have a gorgeous week, honey.